You can eat better, exercise more, lose weight, and still have stubborn belly fat. Some of that belly fat sits under the skin, but another kind sits deeper inside your belly, wrapped around your organs. This is called visceral fat, and it surrounds your pancreas, liver, stomach, and intestines. And it's the type of fat most strongly linked to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease, and stroke. But here's the good news. Although visceral fat may be dangerous, it's also one of the easiest types of fat to get rid of once you attack it correctly. In today's video, I'll show you the foods that actually target visceral fat, the one drink that helps your body burn fat, and the best exercise approach that works without pushing your body too hard. Not all fat in the body acts the same. Some fat is just there to store energy. Other fat causes problems. Understanding this difference is the key to fixing stubborn belly fat. Now, there are two types of fat which I alluded to before: subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat most people think about. It sits under the skin, you can pinch it with your fingers, and it feels soft or squishy. This type of fat stores extra energy, it can change how your clothes fit, and it can significantly bother you when you look in the mirror. By itself, it is not the most dangerous type of fat. The second type of fat that we're focusing on today is visceral fat, and it's very different than subcutaneous fat. This sits deep inside the belly. You can't really pinch it, and it wraps around your organs. This fat actually pushes from the inside out. This is why some people notice a firm belly, a round, more hard stomach, or a basketball-shaped stomach. But the biggest problem with visceral fat is not how it actually makes your body looks, but the fact that visceral fat is active. Now let me explain. It sends chemical signals into the body, and these signals can increase swelling and irritation, leading to inflammation, raise blood sugar, make insulin stop working well, and put extra stress on the liver. This is why someone can look thinner in their arms and legs, have a little bit bigger of a belly, and still be at a significant risk for dangerous health conditions. Doctors even have a name for this. They call it TOFI, thin on the outside and fat on the inside. So how can you tell if your visceral fat may be an issue? Well, you don't need special tests to get a good idea. There's one simple check that you can do in the comfort of your own home. Stand up straight and relax your stomach. Gently press on your stomach with 2 fingers. If it feels soft and squishy, that's most likely to be fat under the skin, also known as that subcutaneous fat. But if it feels firmer or harder, that's more likely to be visceral fat. This hard feeling comes from fat pressing outward from the inside of the belly, and often this fat builds up around the liver first. Now, many people think that visceral fat comes from eating too much food. And don't get me wrong, calories matter, and the types of food that you put inside your body matters, but stress inside the body matters even more. One big reason that visceral fat grows is because of something called oxidative stress. Here's a simple way that you can think about oxidative stress. Imagine your body running like a car engine. If an engine runs hot every once in a while, that's totally fine. But if it runs hot all the time, parts of the engine start to wear down. Some parts can rust and some parts can break. Oxidative stress is just like that rust inside the body. When oxidative stress is high, the body feels unsafe. When the body feels unsafe, it stores more fat. Visceral fat will grow when there is long-term inflammation, blood sugar spikes, insulin that's not working as well as it should be, and constant stress signals. This is why, and super important point, that starving yourself will not actually get rid of visceral fat. Cutting calories too strictly actually raises your stress hormones. This makes visceral fat significantly harder to lose. Again, the goal is not to eat less and less. The real goal is to lower stress inside of the body, calm down inflammation, and help the body feel safe enough to burn that visceral fat away. So how do we actually do this? Well, one of the best ways to burn visceral fat is to introduce colorful foods into the body. Bright colors in plants come from natural compounds called carotenoids. You see this in foods every day, like the orange from carrots or sweet potatoes, the red that shows up in tomatoes, the yellows in foods like peppers and squash, and the greens in foods like spinach. These colors are there for a reason, and in fact, carotenoids help the body in simple ways. They lower inflammation, they protect cells from damage, and they help cells use energy better. Think of them like the shields for your cells. Here is the key idea. Carotenoids tell your body it is safe to burn fat instead of storing it. So what the data actually shows is that studies done in Japan and other countries, people were asked to eat more colorful foods. They did not count calories, they did not starve, and they did not follow any strict diets. They simply ate more foods that were colorful. After about 8 weeks, researchers saw something important. The visceral fat content went down, especially fat around the liver. This happened even when body weight didn't change much at all. This shows how powerful food signals can actually be. So a simple rule is you don't need perfection, but just remember this. Pale foods often feed visceral fat, whereas brighter color foods help reduce it. Try adding one colorful fruit at every meal. This alone can change the signals that your body receives each day. Moving on to what you can drink to eliminate visceral fat, what you drink matters just as much as what you eat. Some drinks can raise blood sugar and increase stress on the body, whereas others can really help calm the system. One of the best drinks for visceral fat specifically is green tea. Green tea contains special compounds called catechins, and the most helpful catechin is one called EGCG. These compounds help the body in 3 simple ways. They help burn more fat. Catechins gently push the body to use fat for energy, specifically the visceral fat. They slightly boost metabolism, which means the body burns a little more energy all day long, even at rest, and they reduce fat absorption. Catechins can block an enzyme called lipase, and lipase helps absorb fat from food. When lipase is slightly blocked, less fat is absorbed, and more fat passes through the stool. Together, this creates a powerful effect. You burn more fat and you actually absorb less of it. Multiple studies show that drinking green tea daily for about 12 weeks leads to clear reductions in visceral fat. But, and this is important, quality matters. You want to avoid bottled green teas with sugar, sweet tea drinks, and health drinks with added sweeteners. These can harm the liver and actually raise insulin levels. The better choices are matcha and sencha. Now, if you don't love the taste of green tea, and trust me, I totally get it, if you don't put a lot of sweeteners in there, it can sometimes taste like you're drinking grass. A high quality green tea extract can be a helpful alternative. I will say drinking the green tea itself is my first recommendation because that's what we've seen in the studies, but a green tea extract supplement can be a good add-on. If you want the best and most affordable matcha powder or green tea extracts on Amazon, I'll put a link to both of those in the description below. The last thing that we're talking about that can help burn visceral fat is exercise, and this one probably doesn't surprise people. Food can send signals to the body, but exercise can change those signals even faster. Larger studies concerning visceral fat show something very interesting when it comes to exercise. Diet can mostly change the numbers on the scale, whereas exercise can mostly change the fat around the organs, also known as visceral fat. This means you can get healthier even if your weight doesn't change a significant amount. One study shows this clearly. In the study, people were asked to cycle for 45 minutes twice a week at a moderate to hard pace for a total of 8 weeks. They did this and they did not change their diet. They really didn't lose a ton of weight, but the results showed that almost half of their visceral fat was just gone. Even though the numbers on the scale barely changed, their insulin worked better, their blood sugar improved, their health improved, and this is why this scale can often lie to us. How hard do you need to exercise in order to see these similar changes? Well, you don't need fancy tools like a heart rate monitor. You just need to follow this one simple principle. Peter Attia talks about this all the time for Zone 2 cardio, and it's called the talk test. If you're doing some sort of exercise or aerobic activity, you want to be able to talk, but it should be difficult to do so. If you're exercising and you can't talk at all, that means you're doing too intense of a workout. This is typically where visceral fat responds the best. Now, strength training is really important when you're talking about exercise, but the cardiovascular exercise like cycling, running, rowing, doing the stair stepper, these things help burn visceral fat more effectively than weight training. So if your goal is to lose visceral fat, please do not skip cardio. I mentioned this a little bit before, but one of the biggest mistakes that people make over and over is by counting calories, trying to calorically restrict themselves to lose the stubborn visceral fat. fat. Again, this does not work well, and if you truly want to bring the visceral fat down in your body and improve insulin sensitivity as well as your overall metabolic health, you want to eat the colorful foods, you want to drink the matcha, and you want to do the proper exercises. Finally, here's a realistic plan that you can do to start implementing all of the things we talked about today. What you want to do is add one colorful fruit at each meal. This can be the same fruit or a different fruit, but particularly with breakfast and lunch. You want to replace one daily drink with green tea. If green tea isn't for you, use the supplement. And thirdly, you want to move with purpose. Aim for about 3 to 4 times per week, doing 45 minutes of that moderate cardio at whatever works best for you, whether it's cycling, swimming, doing a light jog, whatever it is, choose a movement that you enjoy. If you do these 3 things consistently, I guarantee that you will lose visceral fat. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone you care about who may need to hear this message, as awareness truly is key. Also, if you want to know what subtle signs your skin may be telling you about your health, I did a video on that and you can check it out right here.